They say betrayal doesn't happen like in the movies. It's not some slow-motion scene with dramatic music and a thunderstorm in the background. No, in real life, it's usually a Tuesday. You're eating leftover pizza, scrolling through TikTok, and then, bam, life drops a grenade in your lap. My grenade came in the form of my wife's voice, dripping with fake sweetness, telling her best friend over speakerphone that I was just her practice husband. Yeah, apparently I was the warm-up act before the headliner, the guy who pays the bills until she finds someone better. The worst part? She laughed. Not the cute laugh she used when we were dating. No. This was the laugh of a Bond villain, the kind of laugh you hear right before the trap door opens and you drop into the piranha tank. At first I thought maybe I misheard. Maybe she said practicing gratitude or practicing Pilates or some other yoga class nonsense. But then she kept going, casually sipping her oat milk latte and saying, "Yeah, he's good for now. Pays the mortgage, keeps the lights on. But you know, I'm not going to waste my best years stuck here." My best years. Like I was a used Honda Civic with 200,000 miles, just waiting to be traded in for a shinier model with heated seats. And the funny thing is, this woman once cried because I forgot to put croutons in her salad. Now I'm apparently a disposable husband subscription she plans to cancel before the renewal date. Here's the thing about me. I'm not confrontational. I don't do screaming matches. I don't flip tables. I play the long game. Call it passive-aggressive, call it strategic genius, call it whatever you want. But when it comes to revenge, I'm like a crock-pot. I simmer. And as I sat there pretending to watch ESPN, I felt the temperature rise. The betrayal wasn't just about cheating, though God knows I was starting to suspect there was some late-night yoga instructor in the mix. It was about the toxic love she'd been feeding me. Smiles in public, cold shoulders in private. The kind of slow poison affection that makes you question if you're losing your mind or just losing the marriage. And because we're talking about America, where even your breakup can be turned into a business strategy, my brain went straight into planning mode. I imagined a courtroom scene straight out of a Netflix true crime docuseries. The judge, leaning forward, listening as I dropped the receipts. Literal receipts from her luxury spa days, dinners for two that didn't include me, and that one business trip to Miami where her bikini photos somehow made it to Instagram, but not to my phone. I'd play it cool, the wronged husband whose only crime was believing in family. The jury, because in my fantasy divorce there's a jury, would tear up as I told my story. And then, boom, asset freeze. Goodbye joint account. Goodbye vacation home she bragged about to her friends. Goodbye little plan of upgrading husbands like upgrading iPhones. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That day I didn't let her see I'd heard a thing. I smiled, kissed her on the cheek, and asked how her girls' chat went. She smirked and said, "Oh, you know, just talking about how lucky I am." Oh, I knew. I knew exactly how lucky she thought she was, and in that moment I decided she wasn't going to see the ending coming. I wasn't going to be the sad, blindsided husband crying into his beer. I was going to be the plot twist. Because when someone treats you like a temporary pit stop, you've got two choices. You can pull over and cry about it, or you can floor it, take a hard left, and make sure they're the one stranded on the side of the road. And trust me, I was already mapping the route. The thing about revenge is, it's like barbecue. You can't rush it. You gotta let it smoke, let the flavor sink in until it's so tender the other person doesn't even realize they're about to get eaten alive. And I had every intention of slow cooking this betrayal until it fell right off the bone. From the outside, I was still the perfect husband, paying bills, making dinner, fixing the leaky faucet she never thanked me for. On the inside, I was the CIA, the FBI, and the IRS rolled into one, building a case file so thick it could choke a wood chipper. First step? Intel. I started with her phone, not by snooping outright, I'm not an amateur, but by noticing patterns. She never used to lock it. Now, Face ID, passcode, and some weird double authentication like she was hiding the launch codes for a nuclear strike. And she suddenly became allergic to leaving it on the counter. I swear, if she could have duct-taped it to her hand, she would have. That alone screamed cheating, or at least preparing the battlefield for it. Next, I got friendly with the bank statements. Every transaction told a story. $220 at some steakhouse downtown. On a Tuesday, while I was home eating microwaved mac and cheese? Cute. $300 at a boutique I'd never heard of right before that business trip to Miami? Adorable. A recurring charge from something called Sunset Social Club? Oh, that was just precious. I Googled it. Let's just say it's not the kind of club you join for the salad bar. I played dumb, though. I kept smiling, nodding, asking how her day was, even offering to rub her feet when she came home tired. And the more I acted like the oblivious, dependable husband, the more careless she got. One night she left her laptop open while she was in the shower. I didn't touch it. No, I just took a little stroll past the desk. And what do you know? There's an email open from her coworker talking about how he can't stop thinking about last weekend. If betrayal had a scent, that email reeked of cologne and bad decisions. This is where the Twyat Ammu part kicked in, because the more I dug, the more I started connecting dots that maybe weren't even there. Was this coworker part of some underground husband replacement cult? Was her best friend in on it, scouting better candidates for her? Was the whole starter husband thing some trend going viral on TikTok that I'd missed? I went down a rabbit hole of YouTube conspiracy channels, half expecting to find a video titled "The Starter Spouse Agenda: How the Elite Replace Partners Like Phone Upgrades." But while I was entertaining myself with paranoid theories, I was also making real moves. I opened a separate bank account in a credit union 2 towns over, something with no digital footprint tied to our joint life. I quietly rerouted my paycheck there, leaving just enough in the joint account to keep her unsuspecting. I updated the deed paperwork on our house, double-checking the prenup she'd barely skimmed when we got married. It was ironclad, but I found a few creative interpretations that could work in my favor. I also started documenting everything. Screenshots, photos, receipts. I even recorded a few of her conversations. Not illegally, of course, because in our state, one-party consent is perfectly fine. God bless America. And the pièce de résistance, I got in touch with an old college buddy who now works as a private investigator. I didn't even have to pay him in cash, just a bottle of good bourbon and the promise of front row seats when this all went down. The PI got me photos. Oh, did he get me photos? Her and coworker guy leaving that Sunset Social Club, laughing like they just won the lottery. Her kissing him in the parking lot of a hotel with hourly rates. Classy. And the best one? Her wearing the necklace I bought her for our anniversary, the one she said she lost, while holding his hand. That image alone was worth every penny I didn't have to spend. By now, the evidence pile was so high I could have pitched it to Netflix as a limited series. Starter husband, the toxic love, the cheating, the revenge. Episode 1, the betrayal. Episode 2, the setup. Episode 3, the explosion. Episode 4, the aftermath. I even had a working tagline. She thought she was getting an upgrade. Instead, she got an eviction notice. The beauty of this slow burn setup was that she had no clue. In her mind, she was still the puppet master, pulling strings, playing the game. But I wasn't the puppet anymore. I was the guy quietly cutting the strings while smiling at the puppet show. And when I was done, she wouldn't just lose the game. She wouldn't even have a board to play on. Because this wasn't just about ending a marriage. This was about flipping the script, about making her the plot twist in her own story. And if that meant playing the long game until the perfect moment, well, I had all the time in the world. Revenge, my friends, is all about timing. You don't just drop the hammer the second you find the nail. You wait until the nail thinks it's safe, thinks it's part of the furniture, then bam, you turn the whole house upside down. And my hammer was polished, balanced, and ready to swing. It started with invitations. I told her I wanted to throw a family and friends appreciation dinner. Tomorrow she lit up, thought it was some grand romantic gesture to show the world how perfect we were. "Babe, that's so sweet," she cooed, kissing me on the cheek like she hadn't been kissing Mr. Sunset Social Club 3 nights earlier. "I'll invite my girls." "Oh, please do. The more witnesses, the better." I booked a private dining room at a nice steakhouse. You know the kind. Dark wood, low lighting, waiters in vests who make you feel like you should have worn a tux. I ordered the best wine, the kind that makes people loosen their tongues. Everyone arrived, her family, my family, friends, co-workers. And her co-worker guy? Yeah, he showed up too, invited under the guise of being part of our extended work family. The nerve. He shook my hand like we were old pals. I smiled because I'm polite like that, and because I already knew he was about to become a live-action cautionary tale. We made it through appetizers without bloodshed. She was glowing, playing the perfect wife, bragging about our love story while holding my hand under the table. I nodded along, every inch the devoted husband, even as my other hand was in my jacket pocket, gripping the USB drive like it was Excalibur. When dessert came, I stood up, tapped my glass. The room went quiet. I started with something sweet, talking about how much family means to me, how loyalty and trust are the foundation of any marriage. Her face softened. She thought I was about to launch into some sappy toast. That's when I slid the laptop onto the table, connected it to the restaurant's projector, and said, "And speaking of trust," boom. First slide, a photo of her and Mr. Sunset Social Club holding hands in the hotel parking lot. Gasps from the crowd. Her mother clutched her pearls like she was auditioning for a soap opera. Second slide, screenshots of the "can't stop thinking about last weekend" email. Third slide, a bank statement showing the boutique purchase for her Miami trip, followed by an Instagram pic of her wearing the lost necklace. The pièce de résistance? A video clip, blurry, grainy, but unmistakable, of her kissing him, time-stamped on the same night she told me she was working late. The room went dead silent except for the sound of her chair scraping the floor as she stood up, face pale. "This is ridiculous," she snapped, voice shaking. But before she could storm out, I dropped the final bomb. "Oh, I agree. Ridiculous that you thought you could betray me, cheat on me, drain our account, and still walk away with half." Then I pulled out a manila envelope and tossed it on the table. "These," I said, "are divorce papers, already signed by me, filed this morning. And by the way, thanks to the prenup and a few adjustments, you're walking away with exactly what you came in with." The gasps turned into whispers. Her sister shot me a look that said, "Damn!" My brother tried not to smirk. Mr. Sunset Social Club suddenly found his phone very interesting. And me? I just sipped my wine, the taste of victory better than any steak. She sputtered, tried to salvage dignity, but the damage was done. Her family wouldn't meet her eyes. My family looked at me like I'd just won the Super Bowl. And in that moment, I realized something beautiful. I didn't even feel angry anymore. The revenge was complete. The betrayal had been flipped, the toxic love story rewritten with me as the author of the final chapter. When she finally left, dragging Mr. Sunset Social Club behind her like a bad purse, I sat back down and raised my glass. "To family," I said, and everyone drank. Because in the end, revenge isn't just about payback, it's about control. And that night, I took it all back. You'd think the big dramatic dinner scene was the end, right? Curtain drops, credits roll, everyone goes home. But this wasn't a rom-com. This was a limited series with a bonus finale episode called What Happens When You Burn Every Bridge and the Whole Town's Watching. The morning after, I woke up to silence. No clinking coffee mugs, no passive-aggressive sighs, no, "Can you take out the trash?" from down the hall. Just blessed, golden silence. I made my own coffee, drank it on the porch like a man who had just been paroled from a maximum security marriage. The sun felt warmer. The air felt cleaner. Even the neighbor's ugly dog stopped barking at me. Freedom has a smell, and I swear it's part fresh-cut grass, part victory. Meanwhile, she was busy playing damage control. From what my private investigator buddy told me, because yes, I kept him on payroll just for entertainment, she tried to spin the whole thing to her friends as a mutual separation. Cute. This was the same group she'd once told I was just a starter husband, now hearing her sob about how unfair it all was. But here's the thing about betrayal. When you get caught red-handed, people stop buying your victim act, especially when half the family from that dinner had already posted vague Facebook statuses about cheaters getting what they deserve. Small town or big city, gossip moves faster than a Tesla on autopilot. Legally, the fallout was delicious. Thanks to that ironclad prenup she'd signed while sipping a margarita on the beach years ago, she got exactly 0 of my assets. The house? Mine. The vacation savings? Mine. The dog she swore loved her more? Yeah, the judge ruled in my favor. Turns out she forgot to mention I was the one who rescued him from the shelter. Even better, her little boyfriend turned out to be less of a future upgrade and more of a lemon with a criminal record. 2 DUIs, an ex-wife who hates his guts, and a credit score that looks like a bowling score. Karma wasn't just knocking, it was kicking the door and wearing steel-toe boots. But the best part? Watching her try to re-enter the dating scene. Because once the family and friends knew the truth, her pool of eligible men shrank faster than a cheap t-shirt in a hot dryer. Word gets around. She's high maintenance. She cheats. She'll drain your wallet. Even her best friend, yes, the one who heard her call me a starter husband, quietly unfollowed her on Instagram. Betrayal's fun until the firing squad turns around and you're the one tied to the post. And me? I thrived. I redecorated the house, sold the furniture she'd insisted on, and replaced it with stuff that didn't scream HGTV nightmare. I started cooking for myself, traveling, even reconnected with old friends she'd accidentally alienated over the years. There's something addictive about living without someone breathing down your neck, asking why you put the fork in the wrong side of the dishwasher. One night, a few months later, I got an anonymous text. It was a grainy photo of her sitting alone at some dive bar, glass of cheap wine in hand, staring at her phone. No boyfriend in sight, no friends around, just her and the glow of the screen. I don't know who sent it. Maybe my PI, maybe karma itself. But I didn't reply. Didn't need to. That picture was the epilogue, the last page of a chapter I had already closed. Here's the truth. Revenge feels good, but peace feels better. I didn't need to keep twisting the knife. I'd already won. The toxic love she thought she controlled had turned into her own cage, and I'd walked away with the keys. My life wasn't perfect, but it was mine again. Sometimes I think about that dinner night. The look on her face when the first slide hit the screen, the way her future upgrade slouched in his chair like he'd just realized his credit card was declined. That's the image I keep, not out of bitterness, but as a reminder. A reminder that family isn't just blood or rings on a finger. Family is who stands by you, not who uses you as a pit stop on the way to their next better deal. So here's my final toast, months later, sitting on my porch with a glass of bourbon in hand. To all the starter husbands and wives out there, don't cry about being practice. Learn the game, play it better, and make sure you're the one writing the ending. Because when the dust settles and the betrayers are left sitting alone in cheap bars, you'll realize something magical. The sweetest revenge isn't watching them lose. It's watching yourself win.